Welcome to the Hidden Truth Show podcast, where we are investigating the Las Vegas shooting. This week's guest was Mike Turber. He's an investigative journalist. He's a cybersecurity expert. He's formerly of the Air Force, where he was an electronic operations specialist, and he's a former senior intelligence analyst. He shares with us incredible details from the Las Vegas shooting. He's been investigating it from day one. He's also been in touch with Eric Paddock, the brother of the shooter, who is speaking to no one but Mike Turber. So for those of you fascinated by this shooting, still trying to figure out what happened and why, Mike Turber provides incredible inside details to provide those answers. However, he raises the additional question, who exactly is he? How is he getting access to this information? Who is he working for? We try to get those answers from him. Check this out, and if you enjoy it, check out the Hidden Truth Show podcast for the full episode. Has finding motive been one of your objectives?
Definitely.
Okay.
Or very early on. That's one of the key things you start looking for right away. Once you have that, then you know which way to look, and which way to look backwards, and to try to learn from it, and what have you.
So give us your best thoughts on motive right now.
I think the motive, when it comes out, it's going to be a combination of Paddock losing money over time. That'll be a component of it. Not having the same lifestyle that he had before, and what have you. And I think that's another partial component to it. And then, as far as a religious component, he wasn't religious. As far as a political component, he wasn't really political. This is based on information I have, as close to the source as possible. So with that in mind, it's just a guy that got mad. He lost his lawsuit. He's mad at all these other things. Plus, he has probably
the lawsuit. You're referring to the slip and fall?
Yeah, the slip and fall lawsuit.
But that was against Cosmopolitan, which is not the same company.
Yeah, exactly, not the same company. But there's a certain point where people just view gambling and casinos they put them all in one big bucket. They're not.
Well, but hold on that because, supposedly he scoped out Life is Beautiful. Sure. He scoped out Lollapalooza, not casino related. Fenway Park, not casino related. Right. Santa Monica Pier, not casino related. So
why would
I end up getting stuck a little bit because I kind of like this retribution against the casinos because now he's losing and against Vegas in general. But it's hard to explain those other things in light of that, right?
Yeah, and there's several possible reasons for it, and they're all stretches. One of the stretches that I came up with is that how do you study or how do you plan an attack on a specific event if the event hasn't happened? If you're not, you're not going to go to the previous years and year after year slowly develop this plan. So you're going to go to other events and study their security and try to look for things that are similar. That's that's a stretch, but that is a possibility. The other thing is there's a word for it, I can't remember the word for it, where people just hate humans. I think that's going to be a part of it because he was narcissistic, he was controlling, he had all these attributes that you would think of a person that might just eventually hate people, and that's a very good possibility. It just could be as simple as that.
Yeah, well, or someone wanting notoriety, any type of notoriety, again, narcissistic personality, to go out as the, I hate to use the word, largest mass murderer in modern American history.
And beat your dad.
And beat your dad.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, we've talked about that on the show quite a bit, daddy issues.
Yep.
We know that dad, FBI most wanted list, known psychopath. Presumably Paddock either inherited some of that or developed it. Maybe developed it in part because not having the love of your father, you're going to replicate the behaviors of your father, that whole thing. So, yeah, I think that the answer is probably wrapped up somewhere in all that.
I think so too.
And it kind of explains, we had an early expert on here on lone wolf shooting who said that he'd never seen a case before where the lone wolf didn't leave some type of note, some manifesto, some indication. Usually they want people to know why they did this. And this might be just a circumstance where, like you said, he hates people. He doesn't give a shit about what people. He doesn't need to tell them anything. The message is what he did.
Yeah.
That is the message.
He broke the mold. When it comes to this type of a situation, he broke the mold. There's no one else in history that has been like this that we know, that I know of. And with not having a manifesto, not having a note, not having anything, not calling someone and saying bye or any of that stuff, you have to wonder, man, what was going through his mind? I mean, what was it? And that is the key problem that the BAU is having. I think there's around 20, 25 people or so on that unit, and I can imagine sitting around a roundtable meeting, listening to all the ideas being bounced back and forth. And in the end, you still don't know, and it's going to be a very difficult pill to swallow if they come out and say, "Well, you know what? We think it's a bunch of things," and I think that's what it's going to be.
On the money issue, what are you hearing about also potentially having the IRS coming after him?
That's not that big of an issue. He didn't have that as a big problem. One of the things that I mentioned to his brother was that
we should note that you've had multiple communications with Eric Paddock.
Absolutely, and in talking with him, one of that subject came up, and I told him, I said, I wonder if he was playing under Mary Lou Danley's card, if he was using that on the machines maybe to gain her comp points or whatever. I wonder if we're going to have a problem there with the form going to her. So that might be a slight issue or something like that, but I don't think that obviously would play out in the bigger picture. But as far as the IRS is concerned, I don't think there was an issue. That's pretty much been settled. It's ongoing. It's in court now. There was 14 accounts a few weeks ago, and they had dropped it to 12. Some accounts were intertwined with the mother and things like that, so they got rid of that.
But sorry, these things that are going on now, these are IRS issues that were taking place before October 1st?
No, I don't know if it was taking place before October 1st. I think it's just it's like a settlement, getting down to the final. It's just like when
settling his estate,
settling his estate, getting that taken care of.
But you're not hearing about any IRS issues that he had before the shooting.
Even if I did, I wouldn't be able to expand on it because that's an area that I would leave to.
And how good is the evidence of his losses?
Well, I mean, as far as the losses are concerned, I think they brought him down to around $530,000 as a final net.
When we're looking at the estate, we're talking about a $500,000 estate.
Right
now, that's cash or that's properties or.
I think that was basically cash, and then you build back the properties back into it. You'll go back over that. The two properties that are out there, I don't think have had any offers or any tangible offers on them yet. And those properties, when sold, the proceeds from that will go directly to the victims. That's according to the family.
Right. So with the properties and the cash, though, he had to at least be worth $1 million.
Yeah, you would think at least that. There's probably more out there somewhere that we don't know about. Bursch is the person doing the final on that. But as far as what his final net worth would be, I would say over $1 million would be accurate. Under $2 million might be somewhere in that range, might be accurate with the houses.
So, but there still had to have been something seriously wrong with his brain. He had to be suffering from something.
Well, I agree. And early on, one of the very first week or so, one of the things that anyone in the intelligence community does is you look for patterns. You try to look for a pattern and find out, okay, where this is going and where it came from. And in the case of Stephen Paddock, there was a pattern. And that pattern, I believe, it's my belief, my opinion, and that's not a fact. The fact is that his doctor did diagnose him as being bipolar. And with his doctor being on retainer, which is something I had never really heard of before, he basically got the medication that he desired, not necessarily the medication that he probably should have been given.
He got Xanax, I think, right?
And that's not your typical. You don't just get Xanax and you're being treated for bipolar. So that might be an issue there. I do see signs and traits of autism, and that gets into a whole other realm of where. It's a large issue. It's a very large issue.
What are the signs?
socially inept, someone that has a difficulty grasping social cues of when to be quiet, when to say certain things. He was very quiet, very domiciled. He never yelled. That's why some of the people that would say that he yelled or he was outside, very friendly, cordial, sitting on his front porch drinking a beer, waving to people. No, that wasn't Paddock.
If you found that fascinating, listen to the entire interview at the Hidden Truth Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Jim Breslow.